Hello, welcome everyone. This is Mompreneurs to Millionaires. So glad you're here. Today we are talking about SEO and blogging. Tell me below, do you have a blog? Just type blog below, or you can drop the link below. Or do you have questions on SEO? Tell me below, just say SEO below. We're going to talk all about it today. I'm going to share 3 tips on each. 3 tips on why you should blog, how to get started, and 3 tips on SEO. Why you need SEO, how to get started, and how to find keywords and all that. So definitely stick around. You're not going to want to miss it. Let me know if you are on the live. Just type live below, or let me know if you are watching on the replay. Just say replay below. I'd love to know who's coming in the day of and who's coming in afterwards. Awesome, welcome. So glad to see you here. All right, so here is the why. This goes really well with, I was so glad that this was the topic today. If you watched last week's video on Pinterest, say Pinterest below if you found that interesting, that blogging goes hand in hand with Pinterest. So we talked last week how Pinterest is the most clickable of all the social media platforms. And if you need a place for people to go, a blog is a really great thing to put on Pinterest to get people to click over to your website. So here's really the why. Well, we'll get started in a minute, right? First, I want to say thanks so much to everyone who voted. I put out a little poll in my group every week. Every Tuesday, I put out a poll where you can help us pick the topic of the week, right? This week, obviously, the winner was SEO and blogging. But feel free to vote on that poll every week, or if you have a topic that is a burning question for your business that you feel stuck on, or you feel like keeps coming up for your business, feel free to drop it below, or you can always reach out to me separately. But I'd love to know what current questions you guys have for your business. What are some things you're asking yourself? What are some things that are kind of tying up your time and your effort and your headspace that you're struggling with? Feel free to drop those below. I'd love to know. But yeah, thanks so much to everyone who voted this week, SEO and blogging. So I'm so curious, right? Like I said below, if you have a blog, say blog below, and feel free to share it with us. Or if you have any questions on SEO, feel free to drop those below as well. SEO is search engine optimization, right? If you weren't sure. So how do you feel like you are doing with your SEO, right? I'd love to know below what your thoughts are on that. I feel like it's kind of one of those enigmas, right? That we all have questions on. Nobody knows all the answers to. I certainly don't know all the answers to everything, but I'm going to share my opinions. I'm going to share what I've learned so that you don't have to at least start from scratch, right? At least you can start from a place at least where I've learned, right? So I want to share that with you. My goal in life is to rise together, right? I think that sharing our knowledge is the key to the universe, right? I really believe that if we can all share our resources, share our knowledge, that is how we all rise together. So that's my goal in life. I want to share all the mistakes I made so that you don't have to. So that's definitely what I'm all about. So I always invite you, right, with these videos, you are here wanting some little nugget, some little tip that is going to help move your business forward. So I invite you to put on your abundance crown, right? I call it a crown because everyone is a goddess within. I truly believe that. You have the power inside of you. So with that crown, I really invite you to open your mind to this video to some new ideas, right? It might not be you need to incorporate everything from this video, everything that I say today, but there might be one small tweak, right? One little aha moment, one little action or tip that you take away from this video and write it down. So whether it's 1 or 2, right? I usually say write 2 action items that you get from this video. I would love to hear below if you hear just one little thing or a couple little action items that you're going to do differently or change or incorporate into your business, right? Because that is how you're going to get the most out of any free video, free training, free workshop is to really, right, get something out of it. I want you to get something out of it that you can actually practically incorporate or implement. So I'd love to hear that below. So 2 action items from today I'd love to hear. All right, so if you are new here, my name is Christina. I have been helping businesses for over a decade. I love sharing my past businesses. I started my first little Etsy shop back in 2010, and I quickly realized, oh my gosh, the internet is huge, right? If you build it, they do not just come, right? That is my mission in life, to help you get to that lesson much quicker than I got there. But you cannot just build a website. You can't just build a blog. You can't just set up shop and hope that people will come, right? They don't just show up. You have to go to them or find other ways of outreach, right? So that is really what I think this is all about. What business is all about is figuring out ways to reach your audience, right? Obviously. So that little Etsy shop, what I found over on Etsy is thankfully, I discovered Facebook groups. And so to me, you will hear me talk all about Facebook groups in my group. I think Facebook groups are the easiest sales funnel out there. So back in 2010 even, I found other Etsy shop owners in Facebook groups, and together we bought from each other, we learned from each other, and we all grew together. So that is what the power of Facebook groups, I think, is that community, especially women, right? I think women want to be in community with each other. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to grow together, right? Quite frankly. So I think having a Facebook group for your business, having your own Facebook group, is the easiest sales funnels to start getting leads every single day to your business. So if that's something that you've thought about, feel free to say strategy below. I would love to talk more with you about that. If you're on the fence of whether to start a Facebook group, we can chat about that. Or if you have a Facebook group and you're like, oh my God, I thought this was such a great idea, but it is dead, or no one's engaging, or it's not getting me leads, right? Let's chat. Just say strategy below, because with my method, you should be getting 5 to 10 qualified leads every single day to your business. And the great part of having a Facebook group is, I think, you get to know your customer. What I love is, I had a client just the other day who was so focused on building a course, right? She wanted to build it before her people came. And I said, what about your audience, right? I get that. She wanted to spend big numbers on, Kajabi or one of these other customized platforms. And I said, what if we hosted your course on just Google Drive or something free to start out? You can always grow into something larger, a customized platform later, but let's really focus on your audience. Come to find out, right? So together we built her Facebook group. She started getting 20 to 30 people every single day coming into her Facebook group. And she realized, she did the course, we parked it over on Google Drive. She realized she wanted to change her focus by getting that feedback from her ideal client in that Facebook group. She was able to realize she actually wanted to help moms and not do her course anymore. She still has it, right? People can buy the course, but she didn't want to focus on that. It gave her a new idea, a new purpose, a new approach. And that is what I love about the Facebook group, right? Is once you build a community of your ideal clients in your Facebook group, if you treat it like a little market research. I always call it a little petri dish. You get to decide first what goes on in there, but you get to ask questions, right? You get to ask questions from your ideal clients. What do you guys think about this? What if I had this freebie? I'm thinking about doing this offer, right? What words are resonating with you? To me, that is so powerful and such a beautiful part of the Facebook group. Not to mention, it can be your lead strategy, and it pulls very exclusive levers that you can use to make sure you get engagement in your group and get people saying yes to your thing. So if you would all want more Facebook strategy, just say strategy below. I would love to reach out to you. Right now, I'm also doing a VIP challenge where it's one-on-one. So it's just $27 and you get me for 5 days in your back pocket. We are over on Messenger where I send you 5 videos, and then we talk about how to incorporate these videos. And this is the 5-step part of my framework to growing your Facebook group by 50 members in 5 days. So if you're all interested if you have a Facebook group or are thinking about starting one, just say VIP below. I would love to share more with you on that. All right, so back to blogging, right? SEO and blogging. So after my little Etsy shop, my husband and I started our bike shop coffee shop. And I always love talking about the bike shop because it was a brick and mortar store, and it was such a fun experience. Heartbreak, but right, also fun experience. And we really had to figure this whole SEO thing out, right? And here's what I want to tell you about the bike shop regarding SEO. I say a lot about the bike shop. We paid so much money to Google. Because as a local shop, and many of you probably have fallen prey to this, right? I think there are companies out there that all they do is sell Google ads. They are not with Google, right? Google's not calling you. It is third-party companies that are selling Google ads because everyone wants SEO. Everyone wants to be featured on Google. Everyone thinks if I show up on Google, that's how people are going to find me. And it could be, right? It could be. Honestly, that is a very highly competitive place, Google, obviously, right? Google is such the search engine. Obviously, we want to optimize the search engine. So this is why there are ads, right? And here's what I will say about Google ads or any other search engine ad is that it's highly competitive for one. It can be effective, but it is a time-consuming method to really try to figure out which, right? It's a trial and error. You figure out which keywords that you can afford, which keywords work for your audience, which keywords actually get clicked on, what's in high demand, right? And all of that takes time and effort to tweak, to figure out, based on your budget, what you can afford and what keywords are going to be effective. So to me, that is a long strategy. Absolutely, it can be incorporated, and absolutely, if you have the budget, it's something to look into. But I would really encourage you to figure out your SEO first before you start paying for ads. Figure out what keywords actually work and figure out how to use them in other ways, right? There are absolutely free ways to incorporate SEO into your strategy so that you can show up more on Google. So that's just a little side note, right? So at the bike shop, we spent so many dollars on Google ads. So I would definitely encourage you to not spend a bunch of money on Google ads before you know how SEO works and before you know how to incorporate it on your own. Then absolutely, right? If you have the budget and it's working, or right, you have the budget and you want to try and you find something that works, obviously, right? Keep doing what works. But yeah, if you have any questions about Google ads, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk about that as well. But again, with the bike shop, right, we also found Facebook groups. So I keep going back to Facebook groups because time and time again over the last decade, right, really since 2010, last 16 years, Facebook groups have been such a big mover for my businesses. Facebook groups is where people actually get to be seen, heard, and feel like they belong, right? So Facebook groups with our bike shop, in fact, such a testament to that bike shop. We started it back in 2014. There are still people getting together in that Facebook group going on bike rides, right? To this day, here we are. We closed the bike shop in 2016. So here we are a decade later. People are still getting together. They still want to be seen, heard, and belong, right? They want to be a part of that tribe. So I think that is what is so powerful about the Facebook group. So we learned many things at the bike shop, right? And unfortunately, when we closed our doors, of course, it was a heartache and it was a heartbreak. But what I love about failure, right? I never really consider it a failure because I learned so much and it wouldn't have gotten me where I am today. So I love that it happened, but I kind of love that it didn't work out, right? Because it was, in the end, it wasn't the right time for our family or the right business, right? We had young children at the time, so we really needed to be home more. So I turned it into my passion to really help other women business owners because I thought if I'm on an island here, right, feeling like I'm losing myself, I'm sure there are other women business owners. And I thought if we could all, right, share our resources, share our knowledge, we can all rise together. So that's really the start of how I started helping other businesses and turned it into the mission that I'm still on to this day. So right after the bike shop, what I wish we had done with our bike shop is, like I said, we paid so much money to Google's. I wish we had blogged. I really wish we had been blogging. But honestly, blogging is so much easier nowadays, right? So I think it would have been much harder back then to blog. But here's the reason why you should blog, right? So getting back to the point of all of this is I'm going to share 3 tips about blogging and 3 tips about SEO. 3 tips about blogging, right? Why you should blog. Talking about Google and getting search engine optimization, right? Showing up in searches. The reason you want to blog is because Google is looking for recent and relevant information, right? For every search, everything that anyone types in, Google is searching for the most recent and the most relevant, right? And the most popular. So you want to consider all of those things when you are building a website, when you are posting on social media. You want to be thinking about some of these keywords or some of these searchability ideas, right? But this is the number one reason to blog, is that if you have not updated your website, right, in a number of years, more often than not, we set up our website and we kind of leave it. We build it and we kind of hope people show up, right? Unfortunately. So if you haven't updated your website, it is getting older and older by the day, right? If you have a page that you published, or right, if you've made any changes on your website, it might have been a long time ago. So you are getting further and further down in the search because you are no longer recent. So blogging is a great way to help keep you recent and relevant, right? Blogs are dated. It's like updating your website every time you write a blog. So that is keeping you fresh, keeping you recent and relevant. Also blogs, of course, how many words are in a blog, right? Could be up to 2,000 words, but there are so many other places that you can put keywords in a blog. So here's where you can be using your keywords, and all of those are going to be crawled by Google and allow more searchability. So that's the number one reason to blog, is getting, showing up in searches, right? So the number one reason to blog is really SEO, right? So, to be recent and relevant, to show up in searches. So that is the number one reason to blog. Number two tip for blogging, right, is that if you're asking, okay, great, I get why I should blog, but then what on earth am I going to talk about? Right? If that's your question, tell me below. What would I even talk about? Here is where ChatGPT comes in, or whatever AI tool is your favorite. What I love about ChatGPT is that you can ask it, right? After, hopefully, if you've already been using ChatGPT, it already gets to know what your message is, what your offer is, the goal of your business, all of these things, what you've been posting on social media. You can ask it, what are 10 blog titles that would be highly searchable in my industry or in this niche? What is my ideal client searching for? Right? Ask it 10 blog titles, and it for sure will give you some ideas. Then you can also ask it, some keyword ideas, right? That's really going to help you decide, okay, what could I write? What topic could I write on? What I love about blogging too is that it really gets you in the creative spirit, right? It really gets your creative juices flowing, because you're trying to think about what's something you could write about or feel passionate about, or right, what on earth would you talk about? But for sure, there are little nuggets that you've been telling all along, right? There are little parts of your business that you love or that bug you, or right, something, your opinion, or right, there are definitely some things that about your business in your industry that you feel strongly about and that you could talk about for however long, right? So really think about what you've been talking about, what you love talking about, what you've been sharing on social media. It could be your story related. It could be any of those things. And in fact, you can take some of that content that you've been posting on social media and ask ChatGPT, right? How could I make this a blog? How could I turn this into a blog, right? And it will definitely do it for you. Of course, with any ChatGPT query, I always suggest a human to edit it, right? Of course. But a blog can be so valuable. This is where it's a longer form, right? We have long form posts and short form posts. This is just taking that and going a bit further. So it's really easy, I think, to come up with topics. You can, right, there's a never ending supply of what you could actually talk about. So definitely ask ChatGPT, start searching, either your competitors or just start searching in your industry. Pinterest, right, again, is a great place to search for ideas. Like I said last week, Pinterest is a great place to get in the headspace of your target audience. What is she searching for? What boards has she created? And this is where you'll start to see so many blogs, right? So many different takes, so many different ideas on how you could go about this. We're all multifaceted human beings, right? So I never say limit yourself to only talk about what your business is about, right? Feel free in your blogging to really think about okay, if I'm a mindset coach, how does this apply to parenting, right? If I'm a mindset coach, or if I'm a wellness coach, right? How does this apply to my business, right? If there's so many different ways that you can link your ideas and your strategy and your opinions, right? To really help other people see things in a different light, see your offers, see your business in a whole different light. So anyway, blogging is a really great idea to really get creative. But again, that's number 2 tip, is get creative, obviously, but use ChatGPT, right? Use an AI tool to help you discover topics and to start writing them. It can write you an outline. It can write you the whole blog. Obviously, definitely edit as a human, but make sure you are creating unique and individual, right, content. What's great is that it's from your perspective. So you still have to ask ChatGPT the prompt, right? So make it detailed. How could I write about, right? I mean, you could pick anything. How could I write about pencils as a, right? Or what would be a metaphor that I could use for my business using flowers, springtime, Christmas, Easter, right? If you want to get seasonal about it and look for things that are popular and that you could have a different take on. Okay, so that's number 2 tip. Number 3 tip for blogging is really to just start, right? That's the biggest, I think the biggest step, and to start with a schedule. So whatever this looks like for you, if you've already started or you've written a blog here and there, or it's been sporadic, think about what schedule would be doable. Is it once a month? Is it once a week? Is it twice a month? What does that look like for you? What is also great about blogs is that, right, this is kind of, it goes hand in hand with your content. So if you're kind of like, oh, I've been focused on posting about this over either in my Facebook group or outside my Facebook group, and then you turn it into a blog, then you'll start to get new ideas for a blog, and then that can also then turn into your content, right? So it kind of goes back and forth. What I love about blogging is it really just gets your creative flow going, right? It really helps you get your message out. It really helps you, you know, come up with lists. It helps you come up, what I love too is that often you'll be writing a blog and you're like, oh my God, this would make a great printable, right? I love a good printable library. So this would be a great freebie. So often in a blog, right, it's a much longer form, but then you could ask ChatGPT or you can create it yourself and be like, how could I put this into a top 10 list that would be a printable for my audience, right? So you might be talking and you talk around this subject for, you know, a few paragraphs, but then you create just a quick printable list from that blog. So it really just kind of goes hand in hand with kind of this whole idea of, you know, flowing with your business, getting ideas, getting in the headspace, all of that I think is really helpful about blogging. So those are the 3 tips for blogging, right? The first one is to why you should blog is for SEO for sure. Number 2 is start with ChatGPT or start with AI, right? Ask it some ideas on what you could write about. Ask it to write the blog for you. Ask it to give you an outline. And what I always love too is, you know, you don't have to pitch in every blog, right? But definitely you can put in some buttons that lead them to your Facebook group. Put in a button that leads them to your offer. Put in a button that leads them to, right, your free newsletter page, right? These are all things that is this kind of bigger picture of your customer journey. If someone finds you on Pinterest from a blog, you want to make sure if they get to your blog, where could they do more, right? Could they get to more? Could they get into your Facebook group and treat it like a sales funnel? So if they get into your Facebook group, then they're answering questions and you get their email. If they are clicking on your freebie landing page, right, then they're dropping their email and they're getting in that way. All of these different ways you want to be thinking about, where can I send people to get them to answer questions, tell me their level of interest, are they qualified to hop on a call, right? Whatever that looks like. Are they a qualified lead to where I want to have a deeper conversation with them? Are they my ideal client, right? Is this someone who needs my solution? Do they have this problem? Is this something I can help them with? So those are all part of thinking about this customer journey. Is the blog is another form of that. I would love to hear from you. Are you someone who reads blogs, right? Tell me below, do you read blogs? Are you someone who scans, right? I will go on Pinterest and I will see different titles and I'm like, ooh, that would be really interesting. But I'll be honest, I don't read many blogs. I really don't. But I will read the headlines for sure. And what I love is a very well outlined blog that I can get the gist of it, right, from a quick scan of the heading. If it's something that I'm really interested in, I'll definitely read a bit more, right? Especially if it's like a personal story. I love getting to know the author behind a blog. And then especially if they have a printable where I'm like, okay, I could be reading this, but I could also just click on the quick printable, right? If I could get the top 10, yes, give me the list, right? So there are so many different ways that you can kind of get people into your world, and everybody is a different human. Everybody is going to consume information in a different way. So you want to have different levels, right? You have the long form blog where someone could really deep dive and geek out on whatever you want to talk about, but then you have some links that they could click and maybe get to it quicker. They could get a neat little list, right? A little shorter form. Or they can get directly with you, right? You could always have a contact form or get them over to your Facebook group, whatever that's going to look like for your system to get them into your world, get them more interested, right? Give them a way to what's the next step, right? So that's really the key, I think, also with blogging, is to think about it as part of your overall comprehensive marketing system strategy, right? Blogging, you're not on there just for fun, right? You either want to make money on your blog, or you want to get people into your world, right? It's more of it's another form of content. So you want to make sure you're sending people to a place and getting people to take action, right? That's really what you want people to do. Okay, so now we're going to talk about 3 tips for SEO, right? Because here's the kicker. It's great to write a blog. But again, you don't just want another thing that you have to send people to, right? You can't just build a blog, write a blog, and hope people show up, right? You've got to be strategic about this. You've got to send people there. You've got to think about your SEO. You have got to do more, right? It's not about just posting and hoping, right? You've heard me talk about that so much in this group. That's what I have discovered. You can't just build it and people come, right? You can't just post on social media and hope people show up and take action. Notice your own habits, right? More than likely you're scrolling. Not many people are clicking and buying from one post, right? Are you? Are you clicking and buying from one post? More than likely not, right? It's going to take a little bit. You've got to see it a few times. Do I need that? Is this a problem I really have? Yes, I think I need that. I think I want it. Oh, I really need it. How do I get in their world? And then you either forget about them or you get in their world and they're reminded, and you remind them of who you are and what you offer, right? It's got to be the right time, but they've got to get in your world and they've got to warm up to your ideas. So it's not going to happen just from one post. So this is right what the whole marketing comprehensive strategy is all about. Again, if you want to talk any strategy, feel free to say strategy below. I would love to chat more with how this all fits into your system, right? I really believe that in order for you to get leads every single day, you have got to have a system that is habit forming. You have to have a habit that you do every single day and or every single week or every single month, right? You've got to have some habits in place that you know are going to get you results. And then you have to know what to do with them, right? So if you feel like you're kind of flailing, you're spinning your wheels, okay, I tried a blog, I tried a Facebook group, I tried posting, I did blah, 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 blah. I did all these things and I tried it all and nothing's working, right? It may not be that all of that is bad. And in fact, you're probably on the right track. It's just pulling those pieces together, starting to make sure that the pieces you've started are fitting together into a whole system and that you're doing the same things all the time so that you know that you're going to get results. I say that with a big caveat, right? If you're doing a bunch of things and it's not working, I would never encourage you to do the same thing over and over without getting the results that you want, right? It's not about, I hear this so much, oh, I just need to be more consistent, right? Do you feel like you have heard this? Oh, or do you tell yourself, if I were just more consistent? That is great, and that might be true, but you've got to have a system that is working first in order to do more of that something. To me, consistency sounds like more. And if it's not already working, why would I do more? Right? Why would I do more of something that is not working? So that can be so frustrating. And I see this is the point where so many women give up. And I don't want you to give up. If you are frustrated with your results, let's talk. Because it is not about doing more and being consistent with what is not working. It is about finding a system and habits that are daily habits that are going to get you to the results that you want and continuing to do those habits. It is not about continuing what isn't working, right? You may be doing part of what will work, right? You might be forming some really good habits, but we may have to tweak a few things here and there. And the only way you're going to know is to learn from someone who's made all the mistakes, right? The only way you're going to know what to do and what not to do, I think, is to learn from those who have figured out what works and what doesn't by doing what doesn't work, right? So definitely, I would love to chat with you further about that if that's something you're interested in. Okay, so back to the 3 tips on SEO. The first one is really keyword research. So SEO, search engine optimization. If you are at all confused by SEO, you are not alone, right? SEO, I think, is a big world and it changes all the time, and it's usually just kind of a buzzword that we all know, yes, I should be working on SEO, but we don't exactly know how to implement, right? That is often the case. With AI tools, right? This is going to become so valuable for you to learn how to use AI tools to your advantage, right? It is not about burying your head in the sand, right? If you are in business and wanting to sustain your business for long term, people are going to be using AI, right? So like it or not, I heard someone say this, an AI expert, she said, strap in, right? If you're not sure about AI, tough. Like, get on board because your competitor is already using it, for sure. So especially with SEO, right? Especially with ads, especially with content. AI is going to be more and more prevalent. More and more of your competitors are going to be using it to their advantage. I always think there's going to be a human element, right? This is where relationships are going to be so, so important, because you can have all the information in the world, but if you don't have a relationship with someone, they are not going to buy from you, right? It's not that you're going to have that nugget that changes their life, right? And they're going to buy from you. It is that they like you, they like your system, they identify with you, they relate to you. It's still going to be about that human experience. So definitely think about AI if that can at all change your mind about trying. If you're hesitant to try AI, definitely this is where it can come into play, because it's an advantage, right? It's an advantage to businesses that are using it. And people are already 10 steps ahead of you, right? They're 10 steps ahead of me. There are already people who are mastering AI, and they are going to have success before we even start AI, right? Before we even get started. So definitely think about using AI, especially for keyword research. So search engine optimization, this just means that you have relevant terms to someone's search, right? Think about your own habits. You go in Google and you start typing. What I love about Google and any search bar really, right? Whether it's Etsy, Pinterest, Facebook even, is you start typing and it will suggest. So sometimes it'll suggest things that have nothing to do with what you're searching for, but right? It will it will suggest what popular searches have been going on. So this is really helpful if you start typing a word in your industry like mindset or wellness or life coaching or business coaching or marketing, right? Whatever that is, if you start typing that in any search bar, whether you're Google, Facebook, social media, wherever you're at, see what it suggests, right? What are people searching? How to market, how to improve mindset, how to start a wellness practice, or right? It'll suggest some things. So definitely pay attention to those suggested keywords and kind of start keeping that in mind, right? You probably already are. You've probably already got some words that you like to use a lot, that you identify with, that you feel good about talking about. And this can be incorporated in hashtags as well, right? So hashtags, there are definitely some hashtags that I'm sure you've been using. And these are part of those kind of searchable words. So we just want to make sure we're using the right words that people are searching, right? I hear this so much. I don't know if anyone I've been seeing this word a lot lately, this word sovereign, right? In the coaching world, I've been hearing this word a lot. And to me, I think it means something different, right? And so, but I know to other people identify with that. So you've got to figure out what your people identify with and what resonates. Are there different words that you identify with, but maybe your target audience does not, right? That's what you want to kind of figure out with these keywords. So definitely do some keyword research, and you can use AI for this. You can use search bars for this, whatever that looks like. Get some keyword research, figure out, and keep it in you can keep it in your notes on your phone if that's where you're searching, or keep it in a file on your desktop. Keep a running tab of some keywords that you really identify with, or key phrases that people are searching in your industry. So these are all really great places to think about this. Or so I always say Pinterest is a great place for keyword research, obviously Google, and Etsy. So even if you don't have an Etsy shop, it's a great place to search for keywords that people are searching. So even in the coaching industry, there are a lot of coaches on Etsy, right? See what printables, what freebies, what services coaches are looking for, or your ideal client is looking for on Etsy, on Pinterest, and of course on Google, right? And on Facebook, you can search in the search bar and see what other suggested phrases come up. And that's a great way to get started. Then of course you can make those searches and see what comes up, right? See what your competitors are doing, see what else is coming up and what they're, just see what's happening in your world. All right, so then the second key to SEO is use it everywhere, right? So once you have these keywords or phrases, if it's a long form phrase, like how to specifically do something, think about writing a blog with that exact title, right? Or use those words in a title for the blog. Think about if it's a standard like phrase, right? Like marketing assistant or wellness mindset, right? Or wellness strategy or weight loss or, right? Whatever those kind of key phrases, you definitely want to hone in on what it is specifically that ties with your results that you're offering, right? Or the problems that people are having, that why they would come to you. So think about these phrases and start putting them everywhere. Put them in hashtags, put them in blog titles. What is great about your website, and this is really the secret sauce, is if you want your website to show up in Google, there are so many different places to put SEO. You can put it in the, obviously the title, you can put it in the headings, you can put it in the alternate text of images. You can put it in the file name of things you upload. So file name of the pictures, if you're uploading pictures to your website, change the file name, that's searchable by Google. Change the file name to something that is relevant to that picture, of course, but relevant to popular searches in your industry. Use the alternate text. So every picture on your website, there's also a place for alternate text. The meta description, right? Meta description of your products, of your services, of the pages. There are so many different places, right? You could ask ChatGPT, where should I be using SEO? But just about everywhere, right? So think about, so that's the first, is to figure out what words to use, and then start using them everywhere. So they can be put, everywhere on your website. They can be used in your, obviously, your posts, your content on social media, and then of course, hashtags. Also think about this in your URL. So as you are naming pages to your products, to your pages, to your forms, to your freebies, think about what words you are using everywhere, right? So instead of having, if you're like, for instance, on Wix or another kind of do-it-yourself website platform, they might give you a like a template, right, for a page, and it might be called About Template. If you just copy that template, the URL becomes copy of About Template. That does nothing for your SEO, right? You would want it to say something like about Christina Dougherty coach, right? Or about wellness expert, or you know what I mean? Like think about the URL. Of course you want the URL. If it's something you want people to type in, you want it to be easy for them. But right, think about these, think about where you're using words. You don't want your product, you don't want, if you're using a Canva template, right? And you have like a really great workbook maybe, or right, something like that. You want to make sure the title of your products fits some type of SEO, or the link to those. You don't just want it to be, right, copy of About Template 1, copy of About Template 2, right? Or page, right? It could be blank page 1, blank page 2, right? That would do no service to you for your SEO. So think about where you're using, or where you can use your keywords, and use them everywhere, right? So definitely there are more places to be using your keywords for sure. And the last kind of tip for SEO is really to, I think, update, right? So it's not kind of a one and done type of thing. I would always be kind of having this in the back of your mind. What are some current words? What's changing? What's trending? And a great way to look for this is Instagram. You can look for hashtags and it will give you stats of hashtags, right? What's great about Facebook is that hashtags are clickable, I believe still. So you can search hashtags, you can search users, you can search profiles, what words are really popping up and staying fresh. All right, I'm realizing this is a little bit longer of a video today, so thanks for sticking around. So I think that's pretty much it, right? Blogging and SEO. If you have any questions at all, feel free to message me or drop them below. I feel like I could talk forever on this, but really the key to all of this is making it work for your system. If you feel like you have been kind of waiting, until you feel ready, right? Well, I'll just wait. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep posting, hoping, and just kind of see what happens. See if I get clients, right? I don't know if that works, great. But more than likely, if you're posting and hoping, you may be waiting a long time, and waiting is expensive. Waiting is costing you money, right? If you are ready to make moves in your business, if you are ready to start getting clients tomorrow, let's talk. Facebook groups is a quicker game, right? With all of this talk, like I said today, blogging, SEO, often that can be a longer game. If you're showing up in searches already, that is great. Capitalize on that. If you are a local business, you definitely want to be using your location, right? You definitely want to be showing up in Google. So hopefully if that's already working for you, obviously double down on that. But if you're not showing up in searches, it may take longer for Google to recrawl your website, recrawl your social media. It may take a while. The Facebook group sales funnel is the quickest and easiest way to start getting leads tomorrow, right? Today. Start getting people to say yes today. That is the goal. So if you are ready to make moves in your business, definitely feel free to say strategy below if you want to talk about your system. But if you're ready to grow your Facebook group, just say VIP below, and I would love to get you started on that 5-day challenge where we get to work together and really grow your group and get it working for you so that you're getting qualified leads every single day. That is always the goal. I always like to leave you with a little tidbit about fear, right? Fear is such a liar. Fear is keeping you small. If you feel like you are waiting to be ready, if you are afraid to talk about your business, if you are afraid of being too salesy, this is what I see so much, right? Is that especially as women, we are told, we are taught not to talk about money, not to talk about sales, not to talk about our business, not to be boastful about our business, right? And if you're wanting to make money in your business, you are going to have to be a little bit more direct, right? And there's a fine line and there's an aligned place for everyone to feel good about selling, to feel good about serving your clients. Your message is important. I want you to get your message out there. There are people in the world who need you. So definitely don't let fear hold you back from getting your message out there, serving your clients. Your clients need you. They need your message. Your unique perspective. Everyone has a unique perspective and a unique journey, and it is important for you to get that message out there. So don't let fear keep holding you back. If you are at all someone who needs a little bit of encouragement with mindset, right? I think mindset is such a huge part of business. That is something I love working with my clients on. I also say that accountability is another really advantage of having a coach, having someone in your corner to keep you accountable for your to-do list, right? You may know a great strategy. You may have listened to this video and said, okay, I'm going to incorporate it tomorrow. But what happens in a week, right? What happens when you forget exactly the steps? What happens when you lose motivation, right? That's where a coach can be really helpful to keep you on course and be like, okay, remember we're focused on this. Remember we're going to do this. Hey, don't forget to do that. Hey, did you do that? Right? So keeping you accountable, it's definitely nice to have someone else in your corner helping you implement the strategies that you may already know. So accountability is definitely, I think, a number one thing, as well as mindset. If you at all need help with mindset, accountability, or even strategy, those are all things that I work on my clients with, as well as a little bit of tech. I think there's always a little bit of tech in the background that can get us hung up on how to make this all smooth, right? How to get your blog talking to your Facebook group, how to get people on your email list, and make sure you have a flow of all the pieces you've already created, right? I hate that we get pulled in so many different directions, and we can have started our Instagram over here here, we started our blog over here, but nothing is working cohesively and you're not getting qualified leads every day. So if that's something you're struggling with, definitely feel free to reach out. Other than that, thanks so much for sticking around. We'll see you on